The next thing I'm going to talk to you guys about is the Korean War. On June 25th, 1950, the Korean War began when 75,000 soldiers from the North Korean army poured across the 30th parallel. The 30th parallel is the boundary between the Soviet-backed Democratic People's Republic of Korea to the north and the pro-Western Republic of Korea to the south. This invasion was the first military action of the Cold War. By July, American troops had entered the war to defend South Korea. As much as American officials were concerned, it was a war against the forces of international communism itself. Casualties were rising tremendously in the war for both sides. During the war, Americans tried their best to maintain the situation between Russia and them. The alternative they feared would be a wider war with Russia and China, or even, as some warned, World War III. Finally, in July 1953, the Korean War came to an end. All in all, 5 million soldiers and civilians lost their lives during the war. The Korean Peninsula is still divided today. Almost 40,000 Americans died in combat, and more than 100,000 were wounded. Next thing I'm going to speak to you about is a more modern day war, which we are still in today, is the Second Gulf War. On March 20th, 2003, the United States and Great Britain invaded Iraq. The government that was being headed by Saddam Hussein was beginning to develop chemical weaponry and weapons of mass destruction. The fighting in the Second Gulf War only lasted 3 weeks, but in those 3 weeks, Saddam Hussein was taken out of office. The amount of casualties on our part would increase daily. In 2007, President George W. Bush sent in an additional 40,000 American troops to Iraq. 23 people died in the month of December 2011. My own opinion on the Second Gulf War, on any war, honestly, but the Second Gulf War, I disagree with war. I think that war should be taken out of our world for every country. I disagree with it. Every nation should not permit war. It should not permit guns. It should not permit, things that can harm other people, because it's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate because war will not bring you happiness. War will not bring you peace, and everybody says that. But it's true, it will not bring you it, because the amount of casualties that we had in all different sorts of wars that included the United States, we lost over all of the wars altogether. We lost millions of people, millions, and it's not necessary. It really is not necessary. War is not necessary for any country, not just for us, but for any country. I think that we should be taking care of disagreements more organized, more better, in a more mannered way, not in a way of war, because now in our time, in my time period, we're coming up with nuclear weaponry, which is not going to bring peace at all. Which will not. Nuclear weaponry will just bring chaos. Will just bring horrible things for everybody. Really will. Because one time that somebody decides to let off a nuclear bomb, that is when the whole world is going to let off their nuclear bombs, and we're not going to be here anymore. We're not going to be alive anymore. We're not going to be able to give our input on war anymore after that, because we're not going to be alive. We're going to be dead. And I personally I disagree with war. I disagree with it because it was just a waste in people. It was a waste in money, and all those different things that we're putting into that war. All those utilities that we're putting into that war we could have kept that. We could have kept all that money, and we could have stayed with it. We could have been less out of debt than what we are today. But unfortunately, we decided to intervene, and this is what happened when we intervened.